with the idea that there was some kind of spiritual power available to both men and women that could transform people's lives, heal the sick, provide food, raise the dead, walk on water, find wisdom and great truths in simple everyday objects like sheep, lilies, grapevines, and fig trees. Mary, the mother of Jesus, also fascinated me. I wondered how she could give birth to someone divine without being divine herself. I wondered if she were some kind of goddess, the source of life. Priests and nuns told us that she was not divine, but I never really believed that. She had too much power. Our church had a glorious statue of Mary standing on a crescent moon, with a serpent coiled around her feet and the earth beneath. I thought a woman who could stand on earth, moon, and snake was not just an ordinary mortal. Later, as I learned more about goddess legends from around the world, I discovered that the serpent was not always considered to be the symbol of evil as presented in the Old Testament story about the Garden of Eden. In other cultures, the serpent is the symbol of earth, wisdom, and rebirth because it can live in the earth, in trees, in water, and it can shed its skin and renew its life over and over again. As I studied further, I learned that energy moves in coils like a serpent, and that DNA molecules are also spirals, and that the electromagnetic energy running along the Earth's ley lines moves in a similar manner. Coils, spirals, waves. It was science, but it was as serpentine and mysterious as the hidden life of snakes. Throughout my childhood, I suspected that there was more information and knowledge than people were giving me, and by some ability that I did not at the time understand, I could sometimes pick up on that withheld information. For example, when I was 4, I overheard my father's friends discussing engineering and architecture. I sidled up to where they were sitting and wormed my way into the conversation with innocent questions. At first, they humored me with childlike answers, but soon I was asking rather penetrating questions. They were amazed at how much I knew about a subject that was new to me. They were astounded. Much later, I realized how I was able to hold my own with the adults. I was drawing in information from those around me, and possibly from a higher source. Once at a family gathering when I was 5, I heard my uncle talking about a valuable antique car that he and his brothers and sisters owned jointly. He stood tall, a drink in his hand, and told them that the car had been stolen from the storage garage. As I listened to his long story, I could also hear him saying something else quite different, as if he were whispering secretly to himself, that he had sold the car and intended to keep the money. Being young, I could not distinguish between mental voices and spoken words, and so, being also naive, I asked, "But, Uncle, I heard you say that you sold the car." The room fell silent. My delicate mother grew nervous and softly scolded me. "Laurie, you shouldn't say such things." I could tell both from my uncle's own nervousness and what was running through his clever mind that I had caught him in a lie. But who would listen to a 5-year-old? I think that what kept my witch soul alive was that I knew I had a golden center where my spirit dwelled. Somewhere deep inside of me was a place that no one could touch. At night, I often had a personal vision of a blue woman from the sky who protected me. I didn't know if she was the Virgin Mary or the blue fairy from Walt Disney's Pinocchio. She was a little like both of them, but I was too young to make such fine distinctions. All I knew was that each night in bed I felt her soft hand, larger than life, scoop under me, and I would fall asleep in her protective palm. Today I would say that the blue fairy was the goddess appearing to me in the form that I could feel comfortable with at the time. Fairies were a part of my childhood. I knew where they lived out in the garden, and I would leave food for them, especially at the full moon, for I had heard stories that they come out to dance when the moon is round and bright. On cold nights, I would make little flannel blankets to keep them warm. My mother grew upset with me over this and forbade me to go out at night to see them. She said that I had seen too many Disney movies. Life wasn't like that, she warned.